Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Christina, and I'm very excited about today's video. We are talking about designing and furnishing your living room space in your home like an interior designer would. And the reason I'm so excited about this is I'm actually halfway through this process in my own home. I'm not an interior designer, but I feel as though I've learned some things along the way. I have some strategies and some step-by-step processes to make sure that your living room turns out like an interior designer came in and helped you with the process. So step number one is inspiration. You need to find what you even want your living room space to look like. You can't just go out and start buying couches and rugs and chairs without having any idea of what you want this space to look like. I personally love to look at old school magazines. So some that I love this is Lulu and Georgia. It's beautiful, beautiful. They have great inspiration. You can buy the furniture pieces, obviously. Our House, this is one. I love their furniture. I have several Our House pieces in my home, and their book has lots of inspiration. And then the ultimate guide is the RH magazine. And these magazines you can get for free. You can go online and request them. You can go into any restoration hardware showroom and they have like 6 books that are all like, they're probably $20 books. Like, this is an expensive book to print and they give it out for free. So I definitely recommend the other inspiration is going into a restoration hardware showroom or an Our House showroom. I don't have Our House near me. Lulu and Georgia is just an online distributor, but you can go into Crate and Barrel and Pottery Barn and see things in real life, how they're designed and put together. So that's one way. My favorite way is to flip through these books, and I literally will like circle things. I'll put cards on the pages I really like. I'll fold down ones and I'll look for inspiration. If you have no idea where to begin, I would suggest just walking through different stores, picking up these magazines and just thumbing through the pages. That would be step one, and seeing like, what do you even like? What are you even drawn to? There's also Instagram and Pinterest. There's just so much out there. I think that's a great start as well, but just getting inspired. So like, I love the look of this like credenza with the mirror and the sconces on either side. Let's see what else I love. I love everything. Oh, look at this. This is gorgeous. This day bed with that architectural gold light behind it. Love that. Here's a beautiful white couch with this fluting coffee table and like these earthy elements and art behind. So that's where you start, is just getting inspired. And trust me, walk around a restoration hardware, you will feel inspired for sure. If you like anything like I like, you'll love that. Now, before you go getting excited and saying, I want that restoration hardware couch, and throwing it in your cart and purchasing it, which I wouldn't make that decision that flippantly. It's a very expensive couch. But what you need to next do is determine what your must-haves are for your space. So for instance, in my living room, it is a living room and dining room combination. And we had 2 absolute must-haves for the space. The first one is that my husband and I both, but he really wanted, a huge dining table that could seat 10 to 12 people. So that takes up a big portion of the room, to have a table that big, that many chairs. So that was the first must-have. And then my must-have, number 2, is we have a grand piano. And it is a quite large grand piano, and it takes up a substantial amount of the room. So the grand piano is, if you have a piano in your home, you know it's kind of a round shape on one side, and so it's hard to fit in a room. They tend to go in like a corner, but they do jut out quite a bit into a space. And so we had to really take that into account with designing this room, because the piano is quite large and it's an awkward shape. And then you have to consider how a piano is positioned in a room. There are more correct ways to put a piano in a room. For instance, you don't usually want your back to the room playing the piano, but sometimes you can't avoid that. You want the straight side of the piano to parallel a wall, if possible. And you want to keep it away from a window. Ours will have to be near a window, but we're probably gonna put in some coverings, but we'll get to that at the end. So we needed the large piano, which is awkward, and we needed a large dining table for this space. So now that we know our must-haves, I then considered what are some things that I would also like to have in this space. So this wasn't a must-have, but it was something that I really wanted, was to do 2 long couches that paralleled each other. And I'll give some visual examples here. And I just love that look. I love it for conversation. I love the look of the parallel and the symmetry. But as we measured our room with the piano and the table, there was no way we were gonna reasonably fit in 2 couches like this into the space. So that was one where I said, it's a want, it's not a must-have, so it's gonna have to go. So without the piano, we easily could have achieved this look, which I love, but for me, the piano is a must-have. I play the piano, I've played it since I was a little girl, and I play the piano every day. So the piano is staying, the piano has to stay. So that's a must-have. So there's compromise that has to be made, and so the wants list is where the compromising starts happening. So then I looked at images. So all the images that had the parallel couches, I kind of pushed out of my mind because it just wasn't going to work for my space. So now I tried to find the next best thing for my space, and that was, I still wanted a couch because we want this to be a conversational living space, and we figured we can fit in 2 chairs. Step number 3, this is the planning stage. So you've kind of gone through your wants and your needs and your must-haves, and you have a general idea of what you can fit in your space. But now you're actually going to take actual measurements. And I always suggest when you go to stores, bring a measuring tape, because you think something's gonna fit in your home, and it's hard to know that when you're at the store. So like, for instance, these behind me are for Restoration Hardware, and I was like, I think those would fit perfectly. But I had a measuring tape, and it's amazing. These fit in like exactly. And I would have been scared to make those purchases if I did not have a measuring thing. And you can often find the measurements online, so you don't have to go into store to get the measurements, but just visually getting an idea of a space. So I'll often write down what length the room is, the length of my table, the length I'm hoping to have this couch fit in. And then when you go to the stores, you can actually measure them and see and, make adjustments from there. So just always have a measuring tape in your purse if you're going around to different showrooms. It's just a good tip. But you need to actually make a plan. I always draw it out on a piece of paper and actually get a visual idea. I also put painter's tape down on my floor and map out where the rug will be, where the couch will be, and various different things. And that helps you get a concept of what the space will look like, because it's hard to imagine it, at least for me, not as an interior designer, to see the space. And I'm sure this is where interior designers are worth their money, is because they do this all the time. They can see a space, they know this couch, they've ordered a bunch of times for clients, and they know it works well in homes this size, etc. But this is a tip for how non-interior designers can do this. So arm yourself with a measuring tape and be familiar with the measurements in your own home. But do make sure that you're considering proportions. One thing I love about Restoration Hardware is they have these big, beautiful spaces with tall ceilings, but they put in big pieces of furniture. And I think sometimes we're scared to sort of go for that big oversized piece. And I think oversized pieces can look remarkable in a space and have that bold impact statement. Proportions can make or break a space. And if you're watching interior design YouTube videos, I think you know this, like the little itty bitty rug in the big room looks ridiculous. Try to go bigger and make sure you take the measurements and know what will actually work in your space. But oftentimes I think people can go bigger than what they think that they can. All right, step number 4, we're on to the actual purchasing. And for me, this is the hardest step. I get so trigger shy when it comes to actually making purchases. But recently I have been firing away. So the first thing is buy things that fit within your parameters of your dimensions, and don't deviate because you'll be unhappy with the space. So when you're purchasing items, make sure to buy things that you love. And this sounds really obvious when I say it out loud, You'd be surprised at how often you purchase things that you don't actually love. Early on in our decorating, my husband and I would compromise in that we would find something we both tolerated, and that hasn't really worked out for us because then in the end, no one's happy and we all sort of are just okay with what we chose. So as we've gone through our home decorating and home remodeling, we've kind of made the decision that at least one of us should be in love and ecstatic about the choice. And you have to alternate who gets to make the choices. So that way if they hate it, that's not very fair. So don't pick things that they absolutely hate. But if one person is so excited, let that person make that decision if you're not as bothered about which thing that you choose. Then that way, as you walk through your home and people come into your home, you're excited and proud of your home. And you should feel that way. And you should love the pieces that you have. For instance, I loved these shelves and my husband was like, they're great. I love them. They're good. Let's get them. I love this planter, and actually I think my husband does like that one, but there's other ones that he doesn't love, but I do love, and he's like, it's fine, whatever. So try to choose things that at least one of you loves and is excited about, because then you'll just love being in your home and looking around your home and having that pride and happiness, because you should feel that way in your own home. So buy things that you love, but also buy the things that are most important, the must-haves first, before the desired things, because you want to make sure that those things fit and you know what sizes they are. The reason I didn't mention that in the beginning was because we already have the table and we already have the piano. So now I'm to the point of filling in the wants and desires within the space. But if you're starting from a blank space, purchase those pieces first. So that way you can fit everything else around them, if that wasn't obvious. And then the second point I wanted to make, or I guess throughout the third point I wanted to make when purchasing is purchase the best quality of items that you can afford. So I never suggest buying things you cannot afford. Always buy within your own budget and create a budget that you and your significant other agree on and stay within that. Purchase things that will last and stand the test of time. So now that you've purchased your table and your chairs and your big couch and your oversized rug for the space, now we are on to my fifth tip to get that designer look. And this one is very, very important. And I'm calling this anchoring and finishing your space. And this is what touches you really can notice in a showroom, because sometimes you look at your space and you're like, I thought I got the same couch that this person got, but something is different about their home that yours is missing. And it comes down to they have a beautiful artwork on the wall, which is anchoring this credenza that's below it. So if you just have the credenza, but you don't have the artwork and the sconces, like the RH picture I showed, yours is missing something. If you have a beautiful couch and no rug under it and no throw pillows, yours is missing something. Okay, so some other anchoring pieces. What lighting have you chosen? A lot of times when you buy a home, it comes with, if you buy a new build, it's very standard lighting. It's not unique. It's not something that you love. So again, choose something that you love. Go back to your inspiration and choose something that is a statement. And it could be a minimal statement. It doesn't have to be like a big Restoration Hardware, crystals, tons of things. But it should be something that reflects your personal style and reflects the inspiration things that you looked at, and not just, well, it's what was here. And I am guilty of this. Like, I have like a fan in here that I despise that is just functional, and at some point I will get rid of it. So lighting's a huge one. I've talked about rugs in this video, but definitely designers will almost always choose a rug to finish off a room, add that warmth. Occasionally you'll see a deliberate choice not to use rugs, like in a minimal design. I'll show some pictures here. And if that's what you're going for, then that's totally fine. Choose plants. I love plants, and you'll see I have plants in almost every corner of my house that has light. And choose a big plant. Don't be scared. Assuming you have light and can take care of it. You could do faux. I suggest not. Restoration Hardware has bird of paradise. At least in Las Vegas, they have fiddle leaf figs and bird of paradise, like the giant ones in their showrooms. This has a tree in this one. but their showrooms have fiddly figs, which is what's behind me, and they have giant bird of paradise, which I love. If you have enough light, those are really architectural, gorgeous, tropical looking plants. But adding in that plant and that green really just adds something to a room that you're missing without that. That doesn't give that designer edge. It's just a little edge, and it's all these things that come together. And then artwork. All designer living rooms have beautiful pieces of artwork. Sometimes they do smaller ones, sometimes it's bigger. It just depends on your personal design decision. But they don't neglect the walls. Sometimes they do beautiful paint colors, and designers tend to be more bold than I would ever be with paint. So you're not gonna get good tips from me on that. I'm all for painting a room like a dark black. I mean, I haven't done it, but I do love that look. If you want to be more bold with painting your walls, watch The House of Valentina. The House of Valentina, she loves to paint walls dark, deep, moody colors, and I love that. I just can't convince my husband to let me do that, so that's more why you won't see that on my channel. And then there's people that love color and love saturated, like blues and I don't even know what colors, because I would never do it. Black and white, and you'll see green from natural, God-given plants, and maybe you'll see a tan or a gray, but you're not gonna get color from my channel. But if you love color, embrace that and go for it. And there's so many inspirational photos you can look to get that color, to get that designer look. I'll show you where we are currently in the process of this room. So here's the starting point. It's very much still an empty basic room, but we have the dining table, the chairs are on the way, and here is the piano, and it will need to be substantially moved into this corner over here to allow for the space for the seating area, which I'm so excited to be getting done. It will make this room feel like, it feels very sterile, and you can see how echoey it is without anything to warm up the space. But the chairs that are coming here are fabric chairs. The couch is like a yummy, like white, tweedish, not quite boucle, but really yummy white color, off-white. And the rug is a creamy, white, tan, gray, taupey kind of color. It's light. And the room will definitely still need all the finishing touches and things that I talked about. I might want to hang this mirror, or I actually kind of want to get rid of it. I'm emotionally tied to this mirror because it's a long story, but I do love this mirror. But I might want to just get a really sleek, more modern looking one that's still brass, but that can be hung on the wall and still a big statement. And then there's still some empty wall space for artwork. I see a lot of potential here, and I think with the things ordered, I think it's closer than it appears to look right now, but I'm excited for how this will turn out. I'm still making a plan. I do want to see how everything comes in with the couch and the rug that I've ordered before I get those finishing anchoring touches. So I guess we'll see in the proof of concept if this video if it rings true. I think that it does, because I decorated this room that way. This is more my family room. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out one of these other videos of mine if you love interior design, and I hope to catch you in my next video. Bye-bye.